Hello and welcome. This is Jim Kaufman with Rankin Technical College. This video is about getting started with MongoDB. We're going to talk about what MongoDB is, how it's different from relational database, SQL. It's different than that. And we're going to go ahead and get everything set up so we can go ahead and use MongoDB as well. So what we're going to kind of learn in this video, we're going to kind of understand the NoSQL shift, so to speak. It's just kind of a term that has been created, NoSQL, because MongoDB doesn't really use SQL, okay? It's a, this term doesn't, the NoSQL stuff, people say it means kind of different things, okay? But it got coined the phrase. So MongoDB is different than a relational database. We're going to talk about how, everybody in this course knows, a little bit about relational SQL databases, right? Tables and rows. Well, Mongo doesn't have tables and rows. It has collections and documents. Okay, and we'll learn a little bit about that. We'll go ahead and deploy a cloud database. So you'll create your free account. We'll deploy a cluster to the free tier. We'll configure security and access by setting up yourself as a user. And then also you can set it up where you've got certain IPs that can access it. We'll talk about that as well. Tooling and execution. So we'll master a couple of the more popular tools is MongoDB Compass, which is a visual exploration of your data. And we'll also work with MongoDB Shell, a command line interface for writing queries. We'll explore the data model a little bit. We'll examine binary JSON. This BSON is binary JSON, similar to regular JSON, okay? But it's binary. We'll talk about that a little bit. Execute basic queries. So we'll write some queries to find, filter, sort, limit data, okay? And we'll, at the end, you will have completed all these different tasks, okay? And we'll just review those as well. So on this slide, on the left-hand side, you're looking at kind of a, depiction of a SQL database, a relational database, right? So a relational database stores data in rigid tables with rows and columns, right? Structures enforced up front. This is how it has to look, right? You can't just do whatever you want. You have to follow. What's, what has been defined for what you can put in those rows and columns, right? On the right-hand side, so moving from a relational logic to a document logic, right? So for MongoDB, you store documents, okay? It stores data in flexible documents grouped into collections. And the structure is a JSON-like, okay, and it's dynamic. So over here on this right-hand side, you look at documents. It's just you're dropping documents in a folder, right? Not every document you put in a folder is the same, right? They can be different. Now, of course, when you're building an application around your data in Mongo, it helps to have some things in some certain orders and having, if you're going to use it and expect data to be, right, be available, right? But in the purest sense, and you can put any kind of a document in any kind of JSON document, doesn't have to follow a certain standard or schema, right? In a collection, you can just dump anything in there, right? Whereas a relational database, we got a schema, we have to follow that, right? A schema and a relational database, you got to look at it kind of like a spreadsheet, right? You got rows and you got columns, in a spreadsheet, okay? So why choose MongoDB? So it's a flexible schema, so the structure is not enforced. Documents in the same collection could have different fields, okay? Natural data is stored as JSON, exactly as it is used in application code. So like in, this is the M for the MERN stack, right? M for Mongo. We know we also have Express React Node, right? So in Express and React, Express and React can use JSON objects, right? So it can use JSON data. So it's already close to what you need, right? It's a little bit different. We'll talk about that a little bit, but it's basically what you need. So it's kind of a natural, fits well, right? Fits well with Express and React. Scalability, it's built for horizontal scaling. It grows easily across multiple servers. The merge stack. So like I just said, this is the M in the merge stack, and it's a modern full stack web environment, right? So it just fits very well together. So let's talk about how we can kind of look the translation from a table, from a SQL to a Mongo, right? So in SQL, a table, okay, in Mongo database, it's a collection. Okay, so whenever you see a collection, think, okay, that's a table, right? If you already have it down, you understand SQL databases, relational databases. So kind of think about that, okay? That's a good way to think about it. So when you think collection, think table. When you think document, think a row. It's like a row of data, right? A field in Mongo would be like a column in a relational database. A join, remember joins, inner joins, outer joins, right? Think of them as embeddings in Mongo. An ID, Mongo database, every document has an ID, okay? Think of that as the primary key, okay? So here's anatomy of a document. So in Mongo, data is stored as binary JSON, okay? So unlike flat SQL rows, Mongo database handles rich data structures naturally. So it's a little bit different than just regular JSON, but it translates very well to us using Express and React. Now JSON, okay. So JSON in the basics of JSON is when you read a JSON object is read, right? A JSON document, it's going to start at the top and go all the way down. So if you've got a complex document, it's going to, if you got, I would say a large one, and you're wanting something at the end, you've got to read all the way through till you get to the end, right? So that's kind of a downside, so to speak, but from a Mongo database perspective, since it uses binary JSON, it's different in the fact that it doesn't necessarily have to read it all the way through. Okay. It can go to a certain spot within that document, how it uses that internally. Okay. So it makes it much more efficient and, faster, right? Okay. So let's look at this document here. So it has an ID, right? And this is how you set it up for Mongo. You use this object ID, and then here's your ID. Now this ID could be something you can come up with your own ID. There's pluses and minuses when you're basically doing anything. Obviously when you're doing something very dynamic within an application, within a web front end. You're clicking things and creating a new document. You're going to be doing that internally. You're going to create this, right? You're going to use you're going to create this dynamically, right? But you could actually create your own. You could put your own on here, just playing around, right? So this can be a generated one, or you can design this yourself, right? But this is the ID, and like I said, this is similar to a primary key. It'll also hold, here's just regular string data, right? Tor name, artist, genres. Here is an array of strings, okay? This is an array of strings. Here you got pop and country. Here's venue IDs, okay? So venues can be in a separate, so this is kind of like a section that's, this is a document that's considered kind of like a concert, right? And this is the tour name, the artist, right? Here's the venue IDs. Well, these can be in a different collection, right? These can be in a different collection. So this is how that you can reference objects in, objects in a different collection. All right. So here, I kind of have a custom database I kind of created, just simple little one of concert demo, and I was going to kind of use that as examples as opposed to, you know, Mongo has some sample databases, but we're going to be using some of those, and I didn't want to do all the queries for you for the for the stuff you're going to be turning in as assignments. So it kind of created something a little separate, a little different. So for the concert demo database, you got concerts, which has here tour name, artist, genres, venues, right? The venue has a name, a city, a state, capacity. Then you also have reviews and fans, right? So this all together makes up this database, right? Each one of these, concerts, venues, reviews, fans, these are all separate collections. They're all separate collections, but they can be related, right? So it all depends on how you structure your data to determine that relationship. Okay, so we're going to get into that a lot more as far as how this all works. But let's go ahead and just kind of get started to get things set up here. So first thing we want to do is we want to go ahead and go to mongodatabase.com Cloud Atlas Register. And actually, before we do that, let me show you a document that will kind of help you. This is, and I'm going to be building this out a little bit, generating these. So here's a getting started guide. So this can be very helpful for you. Just talks about why, what Mongo is a little bit, and then, some terminology. Kind of like what we were talking about. And then from there, setting up Mongo database. So here, you kind of follow these steps. This should kind of work. I don't think there'll be any problems with it, but you can let me know. But I'm gonna go through this in the video as well. So we're gonna create an. I'm not gonna create it, but you go out there and create it. I already have one, right? But you can go ahead and follow this, and this should really help you get that all set up, okay? Along with the video. Okay, so let's go ahead and create that, and need to make sure we choose the free one when that option is available. Then we're going to click Create Deployment to build your cluster. So I'm not going to create another account for myself, but basically, if you go to that link within the document right here, go ahead and create a new account, create an account. Click Create Your Account. And then once you do, you'll have to verify your email address and then click the welcome questionnaire. You can skip it if you want. And then we need to create your cluster. So after logging in, you click Build a Database or Create, okay? So let me log in. Now, I'm not sure at the beginning exactly how yours will look, but you'll have to create a cluster, and a cluster is associated with a project, okay? So I've got you cannot create more than one cluster per project, okay? So if you already have a project and you try to create a second cluster, it's not going to give you the option to select the free stuff, okay? But you can have multiple projects. So in my case, and you can just follow the directions. The first time in, it might look a little different, but like I'm going to look at my different. And for me to actually do another one, I'd have to create a different project. So I'm just going to do. But so you should pretty much probably at the beginning, it's just going to ask you to create a cluster. So when you create a cluster here, okay, you can call whatever you want, but like I said, if you've got, for every project, you only can have one cluster, one free cluster. It's going to have these selected because it likes, if you like to spend some money, right? But you should have this option, right? And it used to say MO here. I don't think it says MO anymore. So free. So you want to select free. You can give your cluster a name, whatever you want to call it. You can just select the default. And then when you're in here, you got AWS. You can do the different ones. I suggest just go ahead and do the AWS ones. Now you can't really choose. I would just stick with the East. You only really have two options here. Just stick with the East for us. I think it's the best choice there. And then click down here at the bottom, create. It says create deployment. And then you got to choose your stairs here, or choose whatever it asks you to choose. For me, it's stairs. Okay, so once you get past that, you come to this screen. It'll have your IP address, and it'll have a password. So you need to make sure that you copy and save that password. Okay, so find a place that where you typically do that. Make sure you save that password. By default, it's going to create that username. Okay, but it's going to add up here on one. It's going to add a connection IP address. It's going to add this automatically for you to access. Okay, but it is important because when we get things set up, when I need to access it for grading purposes, your database, you'll have to do it in a way so that I have access, because just for security reasons, how Mongo does it. Obviously the stuff we're doing is just some sample stuff and not a big deal or anything, but it's always good to learn how to make sure you do things more in a secure way, right? So you don't want to necessarily always have to give access to everyone, or to any IP address. All right. So just kind of keep that. We'll talk about that more. So here, you just want to make sure you go ahead and copy this, and then from there we're going to choose our connection method. Actually, before you can choose the connection method, you need to click Create Database User. So this is just giving you the base one. You obviously can change the name or whatever. I'm just using the default one it gives you. But you need to make sure you create the database user first before we do choose connection method. Okay, and then so you have different options here. Once you choose connection method, if you successfully create your database user, and then you select connection method, you're going to come to this. So for us, what we're going to be doing a lot of is learn about Compass, and we're going to learn about the shell. Okay, so first then go ahead and click on the Compass one. And then when you come to that next screen here, you have two choices. I don't have Mongo, or I do. Most cases you don't. Mongo Compass installed. Most likely you don't. I do already. So you're going to have to do I don't. Choose your operating system, and then go ahead and download it. Okay. So go ahead and do that. Also, I want to mention, make sure that you use this connection string in your application. Make sure you copy this, save this as well. Okay, this is important. So copy this as well. So once you have that up and running, Compass, okay, obviously you're not going to have things like I have over here. So I have some multiple things going on, right? These are my different connections. But for you, you won't have any over here. Go ahead and add a new connection, okay? And you want to go ahead and put your path in here. Now, if you forgot to get your connection string, you should be able to come back to the main screen here, an atlas and click Get Connection String. Okay. Now you will have to replace the password with your password. You should have saved that at the beginning, and that's your DB user password. Okay. So you will have to replace that, but grab this, and then you can replace that with your password that you also saved. So when you copy that in here, this is where you'll have to replace your password. Okay. You have to replace your password in here. Okay. If you click on this, it'll show you where it was, but you'll have to replace your password. And you can just keep the name it generates, or you can create your own. That's up to you. And go ahead and hit save connect next. You should see a screen like this now. Welcome to MongoDB Database Compass. And on the left-hand side, you should see the one that you just created, right? The connection you created, right? This is the connection to your cluster. So if you had any problems getting this far, please let me know and I can help you out. So you should have created your deployment, right? We create a new database user as well. You choose the password. It creates a password for you for the most part, right? Or you can actually, I think, change it. But create a username and password. Save that somewhere. Set privileges to read and write to any database. Click Add User. We did not do anything with the whitelisting. We'll take a look at that later. Okay. By default, yours should be in there, right? But eventually, when you do things, I won't be able to access it. So we'll talk about that later. So next thing we want to go ahead and do is load sample data. So we're going to load one of these sample mflix data. Okay. So you'll need the connection string for your okay. So for Compass, select Compass. So you should be in there now. And it's showing you exactly what you need to do, change your username, etc. Okay. Now I don't have this, I'll get this for you. This is just mine, and you don't necessarily need it. I was just going to use it a little bit for demonstration purposes, but I can provide it for you as well. But we do want to make sure that we go ahead and get the, load the sample data. Okay, so let me show you how to do that. So, well, actually to get your sample data, you want to do it from within Atlas. Okay, you don't do it from within Compass, but within Atlas itself. So if you come over and click on clusters, okay, you should have your cluster. So this is the one I created. And then I go ahead over here on the right-hand side, click the three dots, and then click on Load Sample Dataset. Okay. And there's different ones to choose from. Here's the different ones. We're going to use more than one of these. There's a few of these we're going to use for assignments. Okay. But for right now, you just really need that one. You can, and you can add, we'll add the other ones later because it's probably just good habit for you to learn how to do that anyhow. So I think we'll be using restaurants and Airbnb, but for right now, we just need the mflix one. Then you click Load Sample Data. And you click on that. Okay, it's typically going to take a few minutes, and once you do, it'll say sample data set successfully loaded. So, just to mention again, so you realize, you're not loading this locally or anything. This is being loaded into your Amazon Web Services cluster that was created, right? And it's free. So we like free. So next thing we want to do is look at the data for our sample database. So you can obviously click, if you're already connected, still have Compass open, you won't have to do it again, right? But if you don't, then you'll have to do that again to connect. If you still have Compass open, we just open that up. And when you come in here, you won't see anything. If you still had it open from before, you're not going to see your database. But if you hit the little refresh thing, it should pop up for you, okay? And so there's our sample MFlix data. And we can just actually click on any of these. And so these are all our collections, right? We have multiple collections. So these are little collections. So you can do what you want with this data. You can edit it. You can do whatever you want with this, right? This is your own copy of this. So it has comments, embedded movies, sessions, theaters, and users. I think some of this is a little newer. I don't remember. But so you've got different things. These are all the different documents. Okay. Now, if you just wanted to play around for fun, you don't want to probably do too much here because you kind of really want to use this data. But you can actually click in here and change. You could change anything you want in here. Okay. And then if you didn't really want to change it, you can always hit cancel here or update, right? You can even actually add another field. Okay. So this is the functionality that you can do within Compass itself. You can update any record. You can add new fields. You can delete, right? You can delete as well. Okay, I'm going to hit cancel here on this one. So hopefully you have all your data here, and now you can access this from different ways as well. But the Compass is one thing. You're not going to really do queries for your data in Compass, but it is a visual tool that you can, like I said, you can do things with here. Right? This will expand it, collapse all, expand all. Well, if you have a big enough if you have a big enough document. So. See, like here, different movies. This will expand it or collapse it. Like I said, you can go ahead and add fields, update, delete. It's a visual tool you could use. Okay. When we're doing queries, though, well, you can generate queries as well. Here, I shouldn't say you can't. You can do it as well up here. Okay. I tend to use the command line interface for most of that kind of stuff. But I'll go through this more later in the future. For now, I'm just going to go ahead and close Compass so we know our cluster has that database, right? And so your cluster that you're using, you'll be using that also. You can always create another cluster for reasons, but the cluster that you created, you can kind of use for the issue tracker project as well. There are some limitations in that. Let me see where I'll have to research and see what they are. They kind of change, but there are limitations on that free. You can't just throw too much data in there. We'll be fine in this course unless you're trying, generating a whole bunch of extra data, right? Just for your own purposes. But kind of want to keep that in a reasonable amount, and I'll have to check the numbers on that, what you can do and can't do as far as on the free tier. But you should be able to do what you need for this course. Okay. But for now, I'm going to go ahead and close Compass here. Okay, so back in Atlas, I'm in my cluster again, and if you forget how to get there, you just can check. You have to be in Project Overview. You click on Cluster here to make sure you got which cluster, and then you go ahead and click Connect. And then so we already did the Compass one. So next we want to do Shell. Okay, so click on Shell. And what you're going to do is, if you, most likely you don't have it installed, go ahead and click Download. Okay, so you want to download this. Download it and install it to your computer. I want to pause the video until you do that. So once you have that downloaded, go ahead and copy this. This is your connection string, but you'll also need your password as well. Okay, but you won't put it right in here. All right. And let me show you what we're going to do here. So then you want to bring up different ways to do this. There's always more than one way, right? So you can bring up a PowerShell, or you can just do a regular a regular console, Windows console. So in your PowerShell, you go ahead and enter, you copy that string, go ahead and put that in here, and then you're going to be prompted to enter your password. So this is the database password that you, when you credit your database user, that's what you will put in here, okay? Okay, so down here in our Getting Started document, we've got show DBs, use sample mflix, show collections. So this is how you see what all databases you have. This is what you use to use a certain database. For collections, you go show collections. That'll show all the collections in your database that you're using. Now to access the collection and be able to run commands on a collection, run queries, you do db dot, right? Prefix that, movies dot, and then here's a count documents, just tell me how to documents. So it's common to use. Another one is just, let's just want to get the first document, okay? So you do db dot movies, the name of the collection, dot find one, open and close parentheses, and this will find you the first one. So let's run those in our shell. So here we're going to do show DBs. Hit enter. This will show you different databases. So by default, you're going to have admin and local. This one will also be there, the sample mflix one as well. Now we want to go ahead and use that mflix. Currently, we're not using, well, I actually did it earlier. But here you want to go ahead and do the use command, use, and then you can just start typing in and hit tab. So that's already on that database. And then here you can do show collections, COLL, hit the tab. And these are all the different collections within that database. Comments, embedded movies, sessions, same thing we've seen in the Connect, right? I should say I meant Compass, right? Within Compass, we already seen those within there. Okay. And so now we're using that. So the next thing we can go ahead and do is do db dot movies. You can always hit the tab. Count, documents, open and close. Okay. And this will tell you that Movies collections has over 21,000 different movies in there. Then the next one we do here is DB dot movies dot find one. Open and close. Oh. And this is bringing back the first movie in the list. Okay. Then obviously you always do CLS to clear your screen. Okay, so them are some basic functions there. Okay. So please let me know if you haven't got this far, you have any problems with anything. Please reach out and I can help you. Let's see what I want to look at next here. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and move over to another cluster I have where I have this concerts database, but just kind of want to review some of this. So to access the data, to be able to run queries, you need to make sure you do a DB first, dot the name of the collection, right? So for my collections, we're gonna go look at we're gonna go ahead and run some of these. So db.concerts.find, right? That will find all, okay? Exact match, if you want to, well, this probably isn't, I wouldn't say exact, but anything that was released the year of 2024, it'll just return only the ones that have a release year of 2024, okay? Here is a comparison operator, okay? This one you've got dbconcerts.find. Ticket price is greater than $100, so it's going to return the ones that are greater than 100. There's only like five records in this, so it's pretty simple. But obviously, the movie database has like 21,000 records, right? So back up here though, so you do a find method, open and close parentheses, right? And then within there, you've got other options. You can do a filter, right? So in this case, we're doing a filter of release year equals 2024. Okay, so we're using a filter on that one. All right, shaping and sorting the results. So here, this one here, we're doing a find on basically everything, and then we're doing tour name. So this we're going to use one to include the field, and to exclude. So you can have not always return everything, right? You can include certain things, exclude certain things, right? Sorting, you can do a sort order, use one for ascending or -1 for descending. Okay, so let me switch over to the other cluster and let's look at some of those. Okay. So here, this is a different cluster I have. So with my concerts one, show DBs. So there's concert demo. So we're going to use concert demo. And here we're going to do show collections, right? So I have concerts, fans, reviews, and venues. Let's see what next here I want to do. So I want to do just that, let's just do, the basic ones here a little bit. So this is basically a DB concerts find, right? And there's not so many. If there's a lot, it'll actually prompt you to keep on hitting enter key, right? I only have a small group here, right? Find will pretty much return everything, but it'll do it in kind of in sections, and you keep hitting the enter key to go to the next one, right? Find one, just going to go find the first one. Pretty much based on there's index. We'll talk about indexes later, but based on that, if I want to just do one with the release year, right? I just want to find one. Well, not find one, find all. I'm going to be find all with a release year of 2024. I think in my case it's going to be one here. But basically, that's my filter there. So it's going to return two of them. We're in 2024. I want to count all documents. We've already done this, but these are good ones. Get in the habit of learning. If I want to just do like the first three, right? It's going to do a find, which returns them all, and it's going to limit to only 3. So that'll limit to 3. And we got, let's see, 1, 2, 3. And there's also this pretty thing. I think that depends on maybe what you're using to access it, but this find pretty probably won't make it much of a difference. But sometimes depends on where you're calling this from. This looks pretty much the same, I think, as the other. But sometimes if you ever have it returning things that don't look nice, you can run that find pretty, just like that. And it's also in that in this document too, the right side, the getting started document. So that's that. That's just some basic ones. Let me see what else I want to do here. So let's just say I want to find artist by artist. Okay, I'm going to do one by artist. So I'm going to do this. I'm going to do find artist Taylor Swift. Hit enter. We're going to turn the ones that match the artist. If I want to do greater than, right? I'm going to do a greater than. So I can do that on like an attendance, right? On this attendance. So use the find, and within the find, you got your curly braces. Actually, got 2 sets of curly braces. First, the attendance, colon, right? And then you use your greater than, right? At greater than. You have to make sure you use the $ before greater than. And then 50,000, right? Hit enter. And this one was 60,000. This one was 70,000. Let's say I want to look at a different collection. So that was all concerts collection. I want to look at the venues collection. So I can do venues.find based on the state being Missouri. Okay. And that will return the pageant and Enterprise Center. Okay. Let's say we want to look at reviews for a certain concert. Okay. So based on the different concerts here, right? Let's look at this real quick here. So here's our concerts. So each one of them has an ID, right? So let's say I want to find reviews based on this. Okay, so this can be associated with reviews. So I think this is set up right, but this is the object ID. So if I want to do that, what I can do, let's see here real quick. Let's go ahead and look at, before I do that, let's look at reviews. I just want to make sure this is set up right. So we have a concert ID, right? So we have this concert ID. This one here, I'm going to return this one. Production value was insane. Best show of the year, okay. So here's a concert ID, right? So this ID is associated with the ID of the concert. So if I go ahead and do a find with a concert ID of that, it'd be just like this. So I'm doing a find on the concert ID, reviews, right? DB reviews with a concert ID of this concert. And that will return, okay, it was 2 of them. So okay, yeah, they might have been not set up quite like I wanted it to be, but that's okay. So basically, this is returning the reviews based on that concert ID. Right. All right. And then let's look at fans. So let me just take a look at the fans here real quick. Let me do DB. Let's see. No, let's just do find. So it has like this membership level. Let's say we want a certain membership level. So I'm going to do membership gold. Okay. Membership level gold. So this is how you would do this. dbfans.count documents. Oh, this just give me the count. How many ones got a membership of gold, and this is just how many, and that's just going to return the number 1 here, right? Otherwise, you just do a find on it, right? Find on it where membership level is gold, and it would return that specific one. So them are just some basic queries, and you can use the same kind of queries for the mflix stuff where needed. So that's all I have for this video. I will go ahead and create another video and we'll do a little bit more advanced queries in that one. So please let me know if you have any questions, getting anything set up or getting to this point. And I'm more than happy to help you. So just reach out. Thank you very much and have a great day.